He told me he was dangerous before he even looked me in the eyes. Then he smiled like someone who'd already read my obituary and approved the draft. The mansion stood on the edge of the Upper Cascades. So isolated it looked like it had been dropped there by a billionaire who wanted to prove he could make loneliness luxurious. I arrived with the simple job description. Tame the reclusive heir, keep him stable, keep him safe. No one mentioned he liked to terrify new hires for sport. His name was Adrian Hale. 23. Brilliant, untouchable, allegedly unpredictable, and worth more than some countries in the Northern Hemisphere. I was the newest in a long line of behavioral specialists hired to coax him back into the world. My student debt loved the salary offer. My instincts told me to run. The first time Adrian saw me, he didn't greet me. He flicked off the lights in the hallway, stepped out of the shadows, and whispered, "You should leave before I change." Like he was auditioning for a horror movie filmed exclusively for my nerves. But when the lights snapped on, his expression shifted too fast. Like he wasn't sure whether he wanted to laugh at me or apologize. The household staff insisted this was one of his tests. If you couldn't handle the dramatics, you wouldn't last a day. I told him, if you're trying to scare me, you'll need better material. He raised a brow, amused for the first time. From that moment, I knew I was in trouble. The next morning, the Pacific Northwest sky stretched wide above us as I found him on the balcony overlooking the forest. He didn't acknowledge me at first. He just stood there, hoodie hanging off his shoulders, hair tousled by the cold wind, staring at the endless green like it was the only place he could breathe. He finally muttered, "They only hire people who think they can fix things. What makes you different?" I didn't think. I just answered, "I'm not here to fix you. I'm here so you don't have to stand out here alone." His jaw tightened, and for a moment I thought he might ask me to leave. Instead he said, "No one stays long enough to mean that," and he walked away. The Hale mansion was breathtaking, but in a way that felt curated, controlled, almost clinical. Marble surfaces, glass walls, silence thick enough to suffocate. Everything looked expensive except the life inside it. And Adrian moved through it like a ghost haunting a world he didn't ask for. Whenever I tried to reach him emotionally, he dodged behind sarcasm, theatrics, or those strange attempts at acting unhinged. One afternoon, he pretended to have a meltdown in the library, knocking over books and muttering to himself as if slipping into some monstrous persona. It was so obviously staged that I almost laughed. "Adrian," I said calmly, while he clutched a book like it was evidence of his descent into madness. "You don't scare me, and this isn't who you are." That stopped him cold. He stared at me as if he'd forgotten how to breathe. Later that night, I found a note slipped under my door. "Stop looking at me like you already know the ending." But I didn't, and maybe that's why I stayed. As the days passed, the sharp edges he weaponized started to crack. I caught glimpses of the real Adrian beneath the bravado, the quiet intelligence, the humor he tried to hide, the loneliness he couldn't. One evening, the staff told me he rarely let anyone see his art studio. So when he invited me, I knew something had shifted. The studio was tucked away on the mansion's top floor, filled with half-finished canvases, some chaotic, some heartbreakingly beautiful. "I didn't know you painted," I said. He shrugged. "I don't. Not really. I just put things on canvas so they stop living in my head." He stepped closer to one painting. A man standing on a cliff edge, reaching toward someone blurred and unreachable. "Is that you?" I asked softly. He didn't answer. His gaze flicked toward me, equal parts fear and hope. The kind that warned me the next step would matter. He said, "They keep sending people who see me as an assignment. But you look at me like I'm human. And I don't know what to do with that." I took a slow breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "That's because you are human, Adrian. And you're allowed to be." His lips parted like he wanted to argue. Instead, he whispered, "Stay 5 more minutes." So I did. Maybe that was when everything truly began. But the mansion held secrets, and Adrian's isolation wasn't an accident. Every time I inched closer to understanding him, something or someone pulled him back. And the storm that would change both our lives hadn't even broken yet. The storm hit on a Thursday night, the kind of American mountain storm that made the windows tremble and the sky bruise purple. Adrian had been quiet all afternoon, too quiet, as if he already knew something I didn't. When the power flickered and died, the mansion fell into darkness thick enough to drown in. I found him in the hallway, gripping the railing so hard his knuckles went white. "Adrian, what's going on?" He shook his head, breath unsteady. "You shouldn't be here tonight." "Why?" I stepped closer. "Because my father is coming." That stopped me cold. The billionaire. The man who built empires and broke anything that didn't fit his vision, including his own son. Adrian whispered, "He thinks isolating me makes me manageable. You being here ruins that. He'll want to fix it. Fix me." Before I could respond, the front doors opened downstairs. Heavy footsteps echoed through the dark. Thunder cracked like a warning. Adrian moved instinctively, stepping in front of me. I'd never seen fear on him before. Not like this. His father's voice carried through the foyer, controlled, commanding, terrifying in its composure. "Adrian, we need to talk." I whispered, "We're doing this together." He trembled, barely perceptible, but he didn't pull away. We entered the foyer to find Richard Hale standing with a flashlight and the posture of a man who owned the world. His eyes locked on me first. "You're the specialist," he said. "Another experiment." I opened my mouth, but he cut me off. "Whatever progress you think you've made, drop it. My son isn't your project." Adrian stepped forward. "He isn't treating me like a project." Richard's gaze snapped to him, sharp as broken glass. "You're spiraling again. Acting out. Creating attachments that won't last." That hit Adrian like a blow. I saw the old wound tear open right there. I said firmly, "He's not spiraling. He's growing." But Richard didn't even look at me. He stared at Adrian with a cold familiarity. "Are you pretending again? The monster routine? Is that how you scared off the last three?" Adrian flinched. And suddenly everything made sense. The theatrics, the tests, the fake meltdowns. They weren't random. They were survival tactics. A way to push people away before they could judge him first. A way to stop himself from hoping. Richard stepped closer. "Enough of this. You're coming with me to the city. We'll restart treatment. You need structure, not distractions." Adrian whispered, "I'm not broken." His father didn't miss a beat. "Then stop acting like you are." The words landed too hard. I stepped between them before I could think. "With respect, sir, what you call acting is him trying to be understood. You can't fix what isn't broken." Richard's jaw tightened. "You have no idea what you're involved in." "Maybe not," I said. "But I know he's trying. And I know he's more than the person you've decided he has to be." Silence. Heavy. Electric. Then something unexpected happened. Adrian reached for my hand. Not dramatically. Not desperately. Just quietly. As if he'd been holding that gesture inside him for years. Richard's eyes hardened. "This ends now." Adrian's voice shook. "No. For once. I decide what ends." His father froze. And I watched the transformation happen, not theatrical, not a performance, but the real Adrian stepping forward, unmasking himself without fear for the first time. "I'm not going back with you. I'm not your investment. I'm not your failure. And I'm done pretending to be a monster so no one sees how you made me afraid of being human." Lightning lit the foyer. The storm raged. But Adrian didn't look away. Richard stared at him, something unreadable flickering across his features. Anger? Confusion? Maybe even loss. Finally, he said, "If you stay here, you're on your own." Adrian didn't hesitate. "I've been on my own my whole life." Richard left without another word. When the doors closed, Adrian's breath collapsed. His grip on my hand tightened like he was bracing for the world to fall apart. But instead, the silence grew warm, gentle, no longer empty. He whispered, "I thought he'd take everything from me again." "You still have yourself," I said. "And if you want, you have me too." His eyes lifted to mine, blue, vulnerable, shimmering in the dim light. He stepped closer, leaning his forehead against mine like he needed the contact to keep from fading. "I'm terrified," he murmured. "So am I admitted. But we can be terrified together." A soft laugh escaped him, shaky. "Real." The first honest laugh I'd heard from him. The storm eventually passed. The power returned. But something fundamental had shifted. Adrian didn't hide behind theatrics anymore. He didn't pretend to be someone unlovable to test me. He started letting himself be seen. And I stayed. We rebuilt slowly, morning coffee on the balcony, quiet conversations in the studio, long walks through the forest where he learned to breathe without apology. He painted again, not to silence the noise in his head but to express it. One day, months later, he showed me a new canvas. 2 figures standing on a balcony at sunset. Not blurred, not unreachable. Side by side. When I looked at him, he didn't look away. He said softly, "I don't want to be alone anymore." I took his hand, threading my fingers through his, and felt him steady beneath my touch. "You won't be Adrian. Not if I'm here." He exhaled like finally, something inside him had loosened. And with the forest stretching wide around us, the sky open and endless, he leaned in and kissed me gentle, searching, full of the humanity he once feared to show. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a test. It was real. And it was ours. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.